The International Criminal Court in The Hague has named a new chief prosecutor who will oversee an investigation into Israeli and Palestinian war crimes. After announcing a potential probe 2 weeks ago, Israel has condemned the announcement, while Palestinians have welcomed it. Britain's Karim Khan has been tapped to become the new International Criminal Court prosecutor for a 9-year term starting on June 16th and will replace Fatou Bensouda. So is this appointment good for Israel? Let's find out more from Yonah Jeremy Bob, an intelligence and legal analyst from the Jerusalem Post. Thank you for joining us.
Glad to be here. Good to see you.
So what do we know about his background? Has he previously been involved in any legal rulings having to do with Israelis or Palestinians? What do we know about his stance on the conflict over here?
So he has not been involved specifically on Israel and the Palestinians. He's not on record with that. And it more has to do with the fact that he has a record as a defense lawyer. So most of the people who have been chief prosecutor were only prosecutors. And so their mentality is convict, convict, find the evidence, whether they liked Israel, didn't like Israel, that was their mentality. He has spent a lot of time defending potential war criminals in Kenya, in Sudan, in Libya. And again, he's also been a prosecutor, but the fact that he also has this defense lawyer mentality means that he's been also critical of the current ICC prosecutor for sometimes using evidence, which he said was too weak. So that is something that Israel's very happy about, the United States is very happy about, that maybe he'll have a higher standard of evidence in general, which could also turn out to help both Israel and the United States.
Okay, and also so far several countries have opposed opening this investigation at all. What are the chances that the ICC will actually go ahead with it in the end?
So I've been saying that you have to divide the issues. If we're talking about going after the Israeli military, I've thought since the beginning that the chances that the ICC would go all the way to indictments against Israeli military officials was very unlikely. There was a recent case where the ICC let British officials off the hook, even though they said they didn't think the investigations were very good. Basically, the idea was as long as they had a good faith effort, and it's hard to say with all the criminal investigations Israel has done against its own officials that it hasn't been a good faith effort, that the ICC wouldn't come after them. The settlements is a different story. The settlements, more countries in the world have issues with the Israeli settlement enterprise. So even if the settlements might be somewhat consensus currently among most political parties in Israel, I feel like that could be a weaker point before the ICC.
In the grand scheme of things, what is the significance of the ICC? Could Khan potentially change how credible it is based on the investigations he's taking over and will be in charge of?
That is definitely the hope. The problems with the ICC are not just from Israel and from the United States. The ICC has only had something like under 10 convictions. I believe it's 8 convictions in the 20 years or so that it's been around. So it's considered very inefficient. There's also some workplace issues, allegations in the ICC. And in general, again, when you're going after the United States and Russia and China are not members, and there's been issues between the ICC and England. So Israel isn't the only one that has issues. So a lot of people have thought that Fatou Bensouda, the current ICC prosecutor, has maybe gone too far in some instances, thrown out too many balls out there, not focused on things where she could get quick and more certain convictions. And so there's a hope that this is one of the reasons that Karim Khan was elected. He's from England, which is a country which is more allied with the United States and Israel. And that was part of the process, that people wanted somebody who would maybe have that more mentality of getting wider acceptance globally.
All right, Yonah, thank you so much for breaking this down for us.
Good to see you.